Imagine a sweltering July afternoon in Manhattan, 1857. A haze of smoke hangs over Baxter Street, rising not from chimneys or kitchens, but from burning carts overturned in battle. Hundreds of men are in the streets, bricks in their fists, pistols flashing, cudgels smashing skulls. On one side, immigrant Irish gangs, the infamous Dead Rabbits and their allies, pour from the 5 Points with savage cries. On the other side, the Bowery boys, decked in their stovepipe hats and firemen's shirts, surge back with equal fury. And caught between them, bleeding and beaten, is the battered uniform of a police officer, stripped of his badge, his club torn away, left half naked by the mob. The city's guardians humiliated in broad daylight as the gangs declare war not just on each other, but on the very authority of New York itself. It is July 4th weekend, Independence Day no less, and the city that prides itself as the Empire City is turned into a battlefield. For 2 days, the gangs of New York rule the cobblestones. The Bowery shrieks with war cries. Mulberry Street is an arena of smoke and blood. And the question in every citizen's mind is terrifying. Could New York's gangs actually be stronger than its police?
To understand how such savage battles erupted, you have to descend into the world of mid-19th century New York, a city bursting with immigrants, overflowing with poverty, and riddled with political corruption. In the 1840s and 1850s, famine had driven hundreds of thousands of Irish across the Atlantic. They settled in the infamous 5 Points, a former swamp filled in with rotten boards and crumbling brick, now a stew of saloons, brothels, and lean-to shanties. Here, in 1 square mile, lived some of the most desperate people in America. The police system itself was barely functional. Before 1845, the watchmen were part-time, poorly organized, often corrupt. Even after the city created a professional police force, politics split it into rival factions: the municipals, loyal to City Hall, and the metropolitans, answerable to the state of New York. For a time, astonishingly, New York had 2 police departments fighting each other in the streets. This chaos was blood in the water for gangs hungry for power. The gangs filled the vacuum. At the 5 Point saloons, gangs like the Dead Rabbits, the Plug Uglies, and the Roach Guards gathered. They ran protection rackets, robbed immigrants even poorer than themselves, and wove tight loyalty through shared Irish heritage. Just uptown, the Bowery boys strutted as the gang of Protestant native sons of New York, tied to volunteer fire brigades and nativist politics. This wasn't just crime, it was a cultural war. To the Irish gangs, every clash was a stand for survival, a way to punch back at the scorn of native-born New Yorkers. To the Bowery boys, it was patriotic duty to put foreign rabble in their place. And when these worlds touched, the fragile system of order snapped.
Key characters and forces. At the center of the Dead Rabbits rose Edward Coleman, an Irish tough whose leadership of the old 40 Thieves had left a scar in memory. Though Coleman met a gruesome end for murdering his wife, later figures emerged to pick up the mantle. These Irish gangs weren't just violent youth, they were prototyping an organized system of feeders, older thugs commanding little Dead Rabbits, gangs of boys pickpocketing and fighting their way into the adult ranks. Arrayed against them, the Bowery boys embodied flamboyance. Picture a line of young men in homespun uniforms, red flannel fireman shirts, leather boots, stovepipe hats perched proudly on slicked hair, swaggering through the Bowery as if they owned it. Their leader of myth and real terror alike was William "Bill the Butcher" Poole, a pugilist and butcher by trade, a know-nothing political enforcer by reputation. Though Poole himself would be killed in 1855, the spirit he instilled lived on, crushing Irish gangs and defending the Bowery.
The New York police found themselves in the middle. Their numbers were small, their loyalties divided, their trust from citizens near zero. When riots broke out, squads of police were sent, but often they were beaten down by mobs 200 strong. One officer in the 1857 riot was dragged down, stripped of his badge, beaten unconscious, and left naked in the gutter. If the city could not trust its guardians, who could it trust?
The Savage Battle of 1857. On July 4, 1857, the tensions snapped. Independence Day fireworks masked something darker. The Dead Rabbits and Bowery Boys had skirmished, and the Irish were humiliated. At dawn on July 5th, the Dead Rabbits rallied. Hundreds surged out of the 5 Points, carrying a grotesque banner, a dead rabbit impaled on a pike. It was both mocking and terrifying, a rallying cry carved from the slum's sense of pride. Police squads attempted to intervene, swinging their clubs, but were clubbed in return. Witnesses wrote of one Metropolitan Patrol bathed in blood, his whistle crushed into his teeth, carried off unconscious. The gangs owned the streets that day. Property was smashed, shops looted, innocent passers-by beaten. The savagery shocked even New Yorkers, hardened to violence. For 48 hours, Lower Manhattan belonged neither to the law nor the people, but to the gangs. Only when the National Guard marched in, bayonets fixed, cannon posted at intersections, did the mob scatter. The supposed guardians of the city, the police, had been proven powerless against the sheer numbers of organized gangs.
Section 5. Aftermath and Legacy. The Dead Rabbits riot left New York scarred. At least 8 men were killed, dozens severely wounded, hundreds beaten. But beyond the bodies lay something worse, the city's fragility exposed. Newspapers nationwide mocked New York, a grand metropolis controlled more by gangs than police, a city where mobs stripped officers bare. For the immigrant Irish, the riot burned memory into legend, the Dead Rabbits standing forever as proof of their presence. For the Bowery Boys, the battle was a badge of defiance, proof their neighborhood had not been cowed. But out of chaos came reform. The police, shattered in reputation, were pushed to professionalize, to consolidate, to finally put an end to 2 rival forces clawing at each other. Within a decade, the New York Police Department emerged bruised but stronger, an institution with a single chain of command. The city could not afford another 1857. Yet the gangs themselves never truly vanished. From the ashes rose new names: the Wyos, the Eastmans, the 5 Points Gang. In time, these rough street bands fed directly into the organized crime of the 20th century, producing figures like Johnny Torrio, Lucky Luciano, and yes, even Al Capone, who cut his teeth in 5 Point saloons.
Outro, reflections, and teaser. The savage battle of 1857 proved something staggering, that in mid-century New York, the line between order and anarchy was breathtakingly thin. Gangs like the Dead Rabbits and Bowery Boys weren't just rowdies, they were surrogate armies. And for 2 days, they toppled the authority of the police itself. Their legend, immortalized later in Herbert Asbury's The Gangs of New York, still echoes. It was a savage warning. When poverty meets prejudice, when law falters, when politics divide, then the streets will choose their own rulers, and law will have to fight fire with bayonets to take them back. If you've enjoyed this deep dive into New York's bloodiest gang war, make sure to subscribe, like, and comment where you're listening from. Coming soon, we'll continue the saga to the draft riots of 1863, when mobs of thousands took on police, militia, and even the Union Army. You won't want to miss it. Good night, And remember, the cobblestones of history are soaked in more blood than we ever realize.